So I'm this Edward from HKExcel. So if you're watching this video right now, you're probably struggling with IB Business Cuegis, right? So what does it mean by Cuegis? So right now on the video, you can see that there's exact questions from the IB. So this is actually from a paper 2 section C questions from IB. So you will know that in the actual exam, Cuegis will be examined in the IB exam, and it will be a 20 marks questions. So you can see that we have 3 questions right now, and then you can choose any of them because you can just answer one question from this session, right? So you can see the first question here with reference to an organization to your choice, discuss the impact of innovation and on operations management strategy, right? So 20 marks. Or you can choose another question, so with reference to an organization of your choice. So you can see that there's always an organization of your choice. So that means you can prepare in advance. Okay, so in this video I will also show you what organization that I will use, yeah, so for an example, and and the question asking you to examine the impact of culture on organizational ethics, right? So basically, what does it mean by Cuegis? So obviously, it's the first word of all the 6 words, right? So it's culture, and then culture, Cuegis, right? So globalization, change, and IS is innovation and strategies, right? Yeah. So basically, you just need to know this 6 topics, and then just choose any of the 2, right? So normally when we prepare the essay, we'll have to prepare at least 4, because you can see that there's a random combination innovation and strategy, and next time it can be innovation and culture, right? So make sure that you have to prepare at least 4 of them. Yeah. So let's go to the concept, okay? So and the strategy of answering all these questions. Okay, so let me show you the guideline first. So basically, let us check with the criteria first. Okay, so give me 1 minute. Okay, so basically, what does it mean by change right here? Yeah, so the concept change here. So this is actually a screenshot from the IB syllabus booklet. Okay, so that means the competition, new technologies and market, and the trends in consumer behaviors that lead to business organization to adapt their objectives, strategies, and operations, right? So that means due to competition, right? You can think of maybe Apple, due to maybe competition from Samsung, for example, technologies, yeah. So for example, maybe car industry, like Tesla, electric car, right? So that will cause a change in your objectives and strategies, right? So an example in the the passage, you can talk about marketing planning, sales forecasting, cash flow, right? So this is just some examples for you to refer. And for culture, so when we talk about culture, what should we relate to, right? So that is the a range of environment in which his role may be interpreted differently, right? So that this expectation affect the planning, decision making, and strategy implementation. So for example, you can talk about the management structure, the leadership style, right? Autocratic or democratic, or laissez-faire. Yeah, so this is mostly discussed when you face the topic culture, right? Yeah, and of course, location would also cause problems and changes in culture as well. For example, language difference, right? Yeah, and also behavioral difference as well. For example, McDonald's, in Muslim, in countries with Muslim religion, yeah. So then they won't have pork hamburger, yeah. So that is just an example for you. And also for ethics, so basically this is more about moral implications. So you can talk about the stakeholders and also external environment. For example, right now a hot issue would be global warming, right? So and also the way you deal with carbon dioxide. So that is the thing you need to talk about. And also for globalization, so globalization is normally the influence on business organization in terms of social, cultural, technology, and economic integration due to different like operation in different countries. Yeah. So and in that case, then of course you can talk about like the growth, the and also the organizational structure. Yeah. So and also e-commerce. Yeah. So and also the international marketing. For example, like some version it has to be like in Chinese, some has to be like in English, right? Yeah. So you need to like think about that, and also for the marketing, of course, you need to like you need to go specific into the local community, right? So, for example, a marketing advertisement that works in like in the UK may not work in France, may not work in Hong Kong, right? So, and that you need to think about that, yeah. So normally in globalization, you can talk more on like maybe marketing, and of course you can talk about like human resources management, because like different people will have like different different countries of people will have different like habits and also behaviors. So in that case, then that might change like the training session, right? Yeah. And also for the innovation. So innovation, the right here refers to like service products and also the new ideas, and also like the challenge in the new and managing the process of the of improvement in a sustainable way, right? So and for innovation, of course, like also usually that will involve like market research and also research and development, and also lean production and managing quality, right? Because normally, like for innovation, like new products, you need to test out the market. So that's what usually students talk about. That would mainly on market research, yeah, and also you want to produce some products that is like with low cost and also good quality, right? So lean production and managing quality. And strategy. So strategy, this term is actually quite broad. So basically, you need to like focus on more on like significant long-term planning decisions, right? So and that would more on like finance topics, right? Final accounts, yeah. So and also like talks about like the debts and assets. And also the strategy is about asking questions: what, why, when, how, where, and who. So like who should you like employ as a leader? Yeah, so leadership and management, you can talk in strategy as well. Yeah, so that is like the basic concept of QGIS. Understand like the basic definition of change, culture, ethics, globalization, innovation, and strategy, right? So what should you like answer exactly like in the QGIS essay, right? So basically, I'll suggest you to answer like in 3 parts, which is the introduction. You should spend like only 4 minutes on it, and the body, and then finally the conclusion. Okay, so what should you include in the introduction? Okay, so basically in the introduction, you should talk about like the company, what is the company, and the background information relate to the questions, right? So and then you have to define the key terms and concept in the questions. For example, if the question is talking about the strategy and culture, you have to define what does that mean, yeah, and include what the company has done relate to the question. For example, ABC focus on the extended marketing mix to appeal to the diverse culture of the globalized market, right? So it should answer the question because it's going to be the focus of your essay, yeah? So right now, understand like what should you do like on the introduction part, and then the body. So this count like most of the marks. So basically, don't just mention the stakeholders' name. So have to mention the stakeholders like internal and like external as well, yeah. So for example, like if you're talking about like a business stakeholder, so like you not just talk about the customer side and the government side, but you also talk about employee side as well, internal, and also like shareholders as well, yeah. So make sure it's all rounded, and explain their impact on the company or the impact on specific stakeholders, yeah. So there's just an example for like the stakeholders part, and there are positive and negative impacts of each decision. So make sure it's always a balanced argument between both sides, yeah. So so not just like, so for example, if you talk about like innovation, you not just talk about like good side of the like innovation of this topic, okay? So, but you also mention there's a downside for that. For example, it will be very costly, and then it needs like a lot of market research, yeah. So, and there are a lot of uncertainty, Okay, so if you have already defined the concept, and more depth is required in this segment. So by using the company case study as an example, be as specific as possible to make the evidence more trustworthy and impress examiner with the research done. For example, like you mentioned, what the company has done, how the company fits in the concept, right? Like for example, how the company like operation fits the like globalization concept example, yeah, and back it up with the evidence. So you have to like so for example, like in 2014, like in 2015, and the company expand to which country, for example, yeah, and then they have set up like a training system for that, yeah. So and explain the impact of the decision, both negative and positive. Okay, so how the stakeholders were affected and the effects of the stakeholders. Example, yeah. So and use keywords terminology learned in the syllabus. So not just general wording. Okay, so if you're talking about like the cash flow, yeah. So and the finance account, so you can talk about like the NPV, right, the net present value, and you can talk about the payback period. Yeah. So and this is just an example. And then finally, the conclusion. What should you write in the conclusion? So explain the stakeholders' conflicts and similarities, for example. And so basically, you have to explain like the analysis you just talked about and explain the conflicts. Yeah, so there's like both a good side and bad side, and also there are also similarities. Okay, and reiterate the stakeholder interest again in the conclusion. Yeah, so and summarize what they have done to achieve the concept, how the company fits into the question, right? So and summarize the negative and positive impact, like impacts and effects. So sample case study, for example, like company Netflix. Yeah, so which is a first you have to define and also introduce like what is Netflix, right? So I believe every one of you know that, but how should we write it as an essay? Yeah. So in the introduction part, you can talk about is global paid for films and television series provider. Netflix is now one of the largest e-commerce companies headquartered in California, US, right? And serving over 190 countries, have over 81 million subscribers. Yeah, so describe like the customer base, what does it do, and the service subscription accounts on their network for internet video streaming, and also offers their own original TV shows. Yeah, so when you talk about change, then change, for example, the driving force, which is because you have to first define what is mean by change, right? Which is the driving force and restraining force which create changes in a business so that they can move forward and remain competitive, right? That is the change definition. And development of the strategy. So technology. Netflix started out as a DVD rental business in the form of mail and has now changed into web streaming service, right? Costs is reduced, shift to becoming the maintenance of the web server and purchase license to play movie and TV series, right? So you can see this is about the change. And physical rental DVDs equals to possibility that product is unavailable for customers, right? Because it's not like internet. So which you can get it instantly. And the internet has like 24 hours by 7 days access, whereas the distribution centers follows office hours, right? And delivery after purchase is almost immediate. So movies and shows can be viewed right after payment through accounts. And prices of online movies are also cheaper than DVDs, more competitive. So that makes the Netflix in terms of change into like more competitive stage. Yeah. So and how about culture? So that is about the norm of an organization, a country, or other social grouping. So for example, like in Japan, Netflix competitor Hulu failed in entering this market in 2011. So you can see the research is very detailed with the year and also the company name as well. Yeah, because prices were too high and there wasn't enough local content, right? And the Japanese market is very brand sensitive. So when the Japanese society embrace a brand, is a very deep connection, very long term. So Netflix CEO Reed Hastings said about that. And Netflix signed a content deal with Fuji's Media to hold two of its local series in order to blend the local productions, right? So that is about the culture side into the Netflix offerings. So prices were also made aggressive in order to compete with the highly competitive local market. Yeah. So, and for China, for example, like a potential 14.5 billion in market. However, the government has a tight censorship of the media, For example, the third season of the House of Cards. So for example, like for this part, like many students would just mention, oh, China has very tight censorship, just that, okay, but they failed to give examples. So examples right here. Third season of the House of Cards were held up for weeks because of the country's media regulator had to view every episode before deeming it acceptable for the public. So example, yeah. And then how about globalization, the worldwide movement towards economic, financial, trade, and communication integration. Yeah. So internet allows the Netflix to expand to almost all of the world. Yeah. So and promote their products by word of mouth. Okay. Sorry. So there's a typo right here. Word of mouth, or even word of mouth. Yeah. So and reduce the cost of like word of mouth. Okay, sorry. So reduce the cost of for production, right? So, and yeah, because you can just do online online marketing, and then people can just buy it like instantly. So you don't need to recruit a team for like for different countries. Yeah, so they can remote control like marketing team, and also for the innovation. So that means the changing or creating more effective process, products, and ideas, and can increase the likelihood of a business succeeding, right? So investing in production of own script drama, right? So that's innovation. So because they produce their own TV series, right? So in 2013, Netflix has launched their first ever original series, House of Cards. Yeah. So and this is like the unique selling point for Netflix. So USP to persuade like the customer loyalty. So you can see that I try to use the terminology. Yeah. So USP. Yeah. So not just saying like they're very special, but unique the selling point. Yeah. So that is the things that you can talk about in the Cuegis. Yeah. So I hope you find the Cuegis essay video helpful, and if you're interested in downloading like the hard copy of this, the soft copy of this, so you can just click the link below. Okay. So hope to see you next time in our center, and yeah, see you next time.